this is Bonnie, and I have some exciting news for you today. As you've probably been noticing this week on the YouTube channel, we have a new release. Fairy Hugs has a new release coming on May 2nd and 3rd. We will be on the craft store, which was formerly called the Oceania. And we will be sharing, having a brand new release, and you can tell what our theme is going to be. It's going to be aquatic or ocean, today I'm going to be able to show you a little bit of a sneak peek of the stamps that are going to be available on May 2nd. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the stamps first. This is what we're going to be creating with the new stamps. And I'm going to show you some of the stamps that are involved in this really quickly. All right, so this is one of the brand new stamps. This one's called Rope Net. And then we also have one of my favorites, which is Tentacles. I'll move this over so you can see that. This is Tentacles, which you can tell that's part of a octopus. And then we also have Mermaid's door. And we have a new sentiment. It's the ocean takes my heart to a place of serenity and peace. And this one's called Serenity. And then we also have, these are called teeny ocean icons. And they might look familiar to you because the release that we had last year that was nautical, we also had these exact same stamps, but in a larger format. These, let me get my my ruler for you a minute. These basically are, I need to find a part of my ruler that I could actually read. These measure almost about 3/4 of an inch, and they're pretty much all the same size. Now, the original ones that came out were this big, and they were called minis, but they basically are about 1.5 inches. So there's a big difference between the two, and this gives you the flexibility of being able to even use them together, and they are really, really pretty. For instance, like here is the starfish, and you can see the difference in sizes, and they look really cute together when you use them together. I'm not going to be using them together today in this video, but I wanted you to see that there is a different size, and it makes it really cool. So one other thing I'm going to be using from the past release is, this is called just Net, and it is a fabulous stamp. It works great for all kinds of background. It's almost like a replacement for using a stencil. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and tell you how I created this card topper. I haven't put it yet on a card. So I am going to be using a 5.5 by 5.5 inch card. It does not have to be this size. It can be a 6 by 6. It does, you know, you can adapt. Whatever card you make, you can adapt to make that work with any of these stamps. So the background is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to use some of my scrap paper. And one of my videos, I think a while ago, I showed you how I made wood background. It's going to be slightly like that. We are going to be using the Pumice stone. And all we're going to do is take the ink and we're going to rub it across. And you just want to figure out, you can see here about how far down I went, but you can do whatever way you want to, which is what's cool about making this card. It's very, you can do it your way. So just rub this across. And you kind of like can get a wood look. And if you actually have things that are bumping up underneath, they will actually, it's kind of like, I want to say embossing, or like whenever you rub across something, whatever's underneath will come up through your paper. And that's kind of cool because it gives it even a more texture to what you're doing. The other one I'm using is tumbled glass. And I'm using that for the top part. I'm going to flip this around, and I'm going to start about right where I ended, and just rub that across too. And it depends on the pressure you put on, where you get the ink to come, and how much you want. So that's the look we're going to go for to start with. Then the next thing you're going to be doing is you are going to be stamping the rope stamp. And again, this is going to be kind of like I said, almost like making a stencil type faded background. Again, I'm going to be using the exact same ink, the Pumice Stone, and I'm just going to ink up this rope. And I'm not using my platform because I don't care if part of it doesn't show up. I want it to be kind of random. And this does not fit all the way across again, but I want to show you a little trick. So I'm going to go about that high. And if you don't want some of it to show at all, don't even do it on this platform, on the acrylic block. But you can see how light it is, but it's giving me the texture that I want. If you want more, put more ink on. Okay, so I still want to fill out this other spot over here. I'm inking this whole thing up. I don't really need to. But if you look at the side, they can kind of match up. They're not exactly the same, but it can be continuous. This one piece will be up a little bit higher, but that's fine. Because like I said, I'm going for the random look. So can you see, you can see how that's just very lightly shown. So then the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to do the net at the top. And again, I'm going to be using the acrylic block. And this time I'm going to be using the tumble glass, which is what we already used before. And I'm going to ink that all up. Okay. And I'm going to start that where that other one ended. And it's okay if it overlaps. And again, you can see how that shows up. It's really cool. So I'm going to get this little bit right there, and I'll have it all the way across. It really does give it a nautical look. Background. It's like wood and net. Okay, so we've got that all set up for the back. The next thing I want to do is I want to add in one more color for the background, and I'm going to be using Spun Sugar because I wanted to add a little bit of pink, and it'll tie into everything else I'm going to be doing on the card. So all I'm going to do is your typical, I'm going to come in and just go around the entire card. And you really don't need to watch me do that, but that's all I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and go around the entire card. And when I get that done, I'm going to start stamping. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm all ready to start stamping. And the first thing I'm going to stamp is the tentacles. And what's really nice is once you've used your stamps a couple of times, they stamp, they don't stick as much to the paper, and it's really nice. I am using Fairy Hugs Raven Black Pigment ink. And I want you to see how beautifully these stamps stamp. The details in them is wonderful. This one needs a little bit more pressure. And you can see I did stamp on top of some ink. And whenever you do that, you really do need to do 2 passes, at least. Here we go. You can just see how gorgeous. See all the details that you get with the tentacles? It's just wonderful. So the next thing that I do, usually whenever I make, I stamp anything, I like to add the clear embossing powder. So I'm going to go ahead and add clear embossing powder to the tentacles, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I have the tentacles stamped, and I have them embossed, and now I've set up the sentiment to go at the top. And again, I'm going to just be using the Fairy Hugs Pigment ink, Raven Black. And I'm going to be stamping that down. And the reason I didn't do these at the same time is because I'm going to be using gold embossing powder on the sentiment. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and again put the gold embossing powder on that and be right back. Okay, so I've got the sentiment all done, and I did that with the gold embossing powder. And the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to be stamping the mermaid door on a separate piece of white cardstock. I want to hand cut this out, fussy cut it out, and put it so that it pops up on top. I am actually using VersaFine Clair Paradise to stamp this instead of the black ink. I wanted to have a little bit of a different color. In fact, I didn't even realize it till just now that my original card I did stamp using the Paradise blue ink for my tentacles. This time I'm not, so I'm going to have a two different tone look. And you can see that's just gorgeous. See how beautiful that stamps. And that was just a one time. It makes a difference how much ink you have on your pad too. So I'm going to go ahead and clear emboss and powder this one too. And I'll be right back. All right, I have a little bit of stamping left before I can continue with my card. And I'm going to be stamping the starfish from the tiny ocean icons. And I'm just going to use a block this time. And I just need 2 of these. And again, you can see that they have beautiful detail in there. And I'm just stamping on regular cardstock. And in this case, I want these to also be gold. So I'm going to go ahead and put gold embossing powder on those and heat emboss those and be right back. Okay, so I've got the 2 starfish cut out. I just hand cut those because they were fairly easy to do, and they have gold on them. And the next thing I do is these stamps allow you to color. You don't have to color, you can leave them just the way they are, and they're beautiful. But I actually love to color, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of detail to these. And I'm going to show you the first thing. That's really easy. I'm not going to do the whole thing at the same time. I'll finish it off camera. But basically, each one of these tentacle sucker things that are on here, I go through with a gold gel pen. And I just come in and I'm going to go ahead and put my other light on so you can see better. I think you can. And I just go through each one of these and color them in. You do not have to use a gel pen. You could use pencil, colored pencil, and you probably could, in this case, if you didn't have any of the embossing powder in the way, you probably could also use watercolors. But in my case, I do have the clear embossing powder that somewhat is in it, and the gel pen will go over the embossing powder. So I'm just going to show you just a few of them right here, and just know that when I'm going to be doing all of them, coloring every one of those in. So, and they're really kind of pretty. They're shiny and everything. You can make them any color you want, which is what's really cool about the tentacles. And so, the next thing I'm going to do is the mermaid door. On the mermaid door, I'm going to go ahead and pull the one I already did to the side. Let's see if you can see that. I don't know if you can. There we go. I can do both. You can do whatever way you want to, but this is just how I did it. I went ahead and used the gold again, and I am just going to, and again, because I did do the clear embossing powder, when I go to color this, I don't have a problem if the ink is, I don't have a problem coloring over it. Let's just put it that way. And then I used color pencil for the rest of it, and it just will go into the parts that the clear embossing powder did not go to, which is nice because it keeps the color of the ink I stamped really well. the other thing I did to this door, and I still might do it after the fact, is after I stamped it, I actually put some ink, Distress Oxide ink, over the whole thing, and then I went ahead and colored it. And you could do either way. It doesn't really matter. It's just what you feel like doing. So in this case, I went ahead and all of the shells up here at the top, I went ahead and added some of the gold gel pen. Okay. And then I also added the gold to the bands of the door. This is really nice because it really does allow you to color if you want to, or not. Or you can just color a little bit even. You don't have to color very much at all. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of gold around each of the spirals of the shell. Just to give a little bit of a shine to that. And then the next color I'm going to be using is a silver gel pen. And I'm going to be doing the hinges with the silver. And there are two. And then I'm also going to be doing the top decorative area, if you want to call it that. And you could take your time. I'm going a little bit quickly. Sometimes things are a little bit more enjoyable when you can take your time. And then up here at the top, for the shells, I just, at the very top of these, next to the blue line, I just gave it a little bit of the silver gel pen. Trying to see if there was something else I added for the silver. I do not, oh, I think that's it. Okay, and then the next thing I did was I had two colors of gold. This one, if you can tell by looking, one is a little bit darker, one's a little bit, not by much, here we go. But there is a difference in color, and because there's a difference in color, I decided to color the inside of it. This is more yellow, the other one's more brown. This one has more of a, actually true gold, the other one has more like a bronze gold, if there's such a thing. So that's the part I use that for. And then what I did is I came in with my colored pencils, and because I wanted to tie in with a pink that I did on the card, I went ahead and these pearls, I made them all pink. Again, you can do whatever color you want. And that gave a nice little cast, I thought, to it. And then I started on the door, and for my pencils, actually I can tell you, if you have Prismacolor pencils, I use 928, and that was blush pink. And then what I did is I pulled out the ones that were the brown tan, if you want to call it, that had a little bit of a pink to it because I was using a pink hue. And this one's called Clay Rose in 1017, and it's the darker of the three I pulled. So again, that's just going to be a little bit of the shading, darkest part. And I just, like I said, this is not a real detailed coloring, which is kind of nice. You can just do it very simply and enjoy the process. And know that it's not that difficult. And I just did one side of each of the boards. And I do want to tell you, one of the things that I was just thinking, when I did this other one over here, and I actually added the Pumice clay to this before I started coloring. And then I used my blending brush to wipe off, it was slightly damp, and wipe off the excess ink on top of the stamped image. And you can do that easily because it doesn't, you know, hurt anything. But once you add your gel pen, it is water-based, and it can affect, the water will affect what you do. If you rub that across, it'll smear it. So you might not want to try that after fact. If you want to do it, you need to do it before you put your gel pen on. One other place I noticed I did not add my gel pen to is there are stars in this foliage, and I liked putting a little bit of dot, teeny tiny dot, in each one of those stars. And I also, if you just noticed, I did include a clay pot in this coloring. The next color I'm going to be using is 1080, and this is called Beige Sienna, and it's just my next color up. And it has more of a brown cast, but it still is in the same family of the pink, I think. And like I said, you don't really need to color these if you don't want to. It would look really pretty on it no matter what. But the reason I liked to stamp it separately was because I wanted to have the dimension. But quite frankly, if you make a mask for the tentacles, you don't have to do that. You can just stamp it directly on there if you want to. So my next color is Peach Beige, and this is 1085. And in this case, oops, I forgot to get the little, hold on a second, I forgot the little pot. Add that little bit to the pot. And I am going to add a little bit to this snail. There. Now, we're going to go ahead and use the Peach Beige, and it's 1085. And in this case, I'm probably going to finish off coloring all of that. And that's simply because I did not ink the whole thing first. Otherwise, I would have just colored part of it. I think I'm going to add a little bit of gold to the center of the doorknob, which is the starfish. Because I see there's a little spot there I can color that into. Okay. And the door would look great if you made it totally brown, because I've done that too in another card. So basically that's the look. I'm going to go ahead and get that doorknob a minute. You see I didn't even do it on my original. So now we've got that all set up and ready to go on the card. So you can see that I might add a little bit of that, I might add a little bit of the ink to it just because I think it would look nice if it wasn't as bright, because it would tie in, I think, better with everything else. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that just to show you what I do, and that if you find out it's not what you want to do by what I did, that will be a good example. So I'm just going to take the Pumice stone like I told you, and a big blending brush, and I'm going to go over it very lightly. It's going to take the brightness of the white away, which I prefer. But it also dulls the embossing. It's not as bright either. And I don't think that I mind that at all for what I'm doing. I don't think I need this paper. Okay. So like I said, it kind of dulls it a little bit, but I prefer that, I think, overall, on how it's going to look on my card. And it's your choice and what you want to do. That's what I think I'm going to go ahead and do. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the tentacles on here, and I'm going to cut this out and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have the mermaid door all cut out, and I've got foam tape on the back, and I am going to be setting that up on top of here just underneath the sentiment. And then I've got the two starfish, and they're going to go right over here. Again, they have foam tape on the back. Okay, so now you can see the difference between the two. This one's totally done in blue. This one's got the black and the blue, so you have a little bit of a contrast. So, like I said, be creative, do your own thing. It'd be really cool to see all the different colors. But I just wanted you to see what you can do with these new stamps. And these do not have to be cut out. I've made several cards for the craft store that might be shown, that you can see different ways that you can use the mermaid door. I absolutely love the tentacles, and I think I used them at least 7 times. I love them that much, and now this makes 8, 9 times. So absolutely my favorite. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that inspired you, and I can't wait for you to see the rest of the release, like I said, on the craft store on May 2nd and 3rd. So thanks for stopping by, and if you could like and subscribe, that would be super. And I also wanted to remind you that we have a Facebook group that's called Fairy Stamper Hugs, and there's a challenge every 2 weeks that you can enter and win $15 to the store, so you can purchase your own stamps. Thanks again.